At 30, Jennifer Gilman was a single mom with a successful career.
She never was of a mind to get married.
But then she met 24-year-old Jim Nibby.
She made it sound like he was perfect.
The marriage would be brief.
They started to grow apart.
But it wouldn't end in divorce.
Jim shot my husband.
Somebody shot your husband?
She initially reported that there was an armed intruder.
And the investigation would expose far more than just a troubled marriage.
She had sent pretty explicit photographs to this man.
Nude texts and apparent videos. She had been forging some prescriptions.
It would also raise questions about Jennifer's grip on reality.
Like someone was telling me. It's the devil.
August 31st, 2010, Lake Crystal, Minnesota. It was not quite 6 a.m. when Blue Earth County 911 received a frantic call from 33-year-old Jennifer Nibby.
Oh my God, please help us. Please help us.
She initially reported to the 911 dispatcher that there was an armed intruder that came into her house.
He was this guy. He came and shot my husband.
Somebody shot your husband?
Yeah.
According to Jennifer, the intruder had attacked her, too.
He got me, but I don't know.
Got you?
He got me.
And then the intruder had apparently fled.
He came out the front door, and I don't know which way he went. I can't be honest, I was on the floor.
Law enforcement rushed to the rural home in the quiet community about an hour and a half outside Minneapolis.
Our sheriff was on his way into work. He was probably 6-7 miles away when the initial call came in. I think he was on scene just a couple minutes after 6.
At the scene, the sheriff found Jennifer and her teenage son Brady, who'd been asleep when the shooting occurred.
When she woke me up, she was bawling, and she told me that Jim had been shot.
It was obvious. A good portion of the back of his head was missing.
When paramedics arrived, turned to Jennifer's wounds.
She had cuts and there's blood everywhere.
Meanwhile, sheriff's deputies fanned out around the house, determined to find the killer's trail.
And there were numerous people that checked the area. They checked the area around the property.
There was no sign of the mysterious intruder, but there were several holes in Jennifer's story. Born in 1977, Jennifer Gilman grew up in the small town of Lake Crystal, Minnesota.
I want to say there are around 1,600 people, maybe 2,000 people or so. Everybody pretty much seems to know one another.
Jennifer was no exception.
Jennifer had a lot of friends from all ages. It didn't matter if it was from our grade or younger or older. She fit in really wherever she went.
And her home life was like that of any small-town girl.
Climbing in the trees, eating mud pies, and then definitely trips in, to Mankato to spend time with Grandma and Grandpa. We always enjoyed that, too.
When it came to boyfriends, the pretty blonde had her pick.
She was very popular with the boys. She was very, very beautiful.
But there was more to Jennifer than just a pretty face.
She was very active. Volleyball, softball, cheerleading.
She was very smart academically. Very smart.
However, when she was just 16, Jennifer sat down with her family and made a startling confession. She was pregnant.
She wanted the baby, but she just didn't know how she was going to be able to deal with it, with everything that was going to be coming. 16 years old, that's awful young.
It was a surprise, yet she embraced it. We all embraced it. And we looked at it as a gift.
Even with the baby's father taking responsibility, it would be hard for a young mother.
He was involved with Brady since Brady was born, but him and Jennifer just didn't, they were young. They were just very young, and that just didn't stick.
Not only was Jennifer determined to keep her baby, she was just as determined to stay in school.
She went to school every day like a normal teenage kid would do, except for she was pregnant.
In February of 1994, Jennifer gave birth to a son, Brady.
Once Brady was born, that was the love of her life. Whatever Brady needed, that came first.
And that included being able to provide for him.
Even after she had Brady, she, just kept fighting and kept on going to school.
It must be hard. I couldn't imagine having a child right now and be able to do it on my own the way she did. It's pretty impressive to me.
She continued to live at home until she got done with high school.
Jennifer graduated from high school and then set her sights on college.
She went out and found out what student loans she needed, if there was grants. She did all the work. She did all the legwork.
She was just always a very strong-willed person where, as family, you just kind of take her word for it because she's going to do what she wants to do, and that's just all there is to it.
In 1999, Jennifer received her nursing degree.
She had a lot of family that was willing to support her and help her with her son so that she could do that. But she basically put herself through college.
After graduation, 22-year-old Jennifer took a full-time job at a local surgery center and worked extra shifts as an EMT.
She really kind of had her life together. Certainly appeared to be very hardworking, very driven.
She beat the odds. Anybody that said that, you will never succeed as a young mother, she really showed people different.
She, really made something of herself.
But between raising a son and building a career, was there something missing? Not according to Jennifer.
She did date some other guys. Nothing that seemed real serious. She never was of a mind that I want to get married and have a husband who is the breadwinner. She wanted to be able to take care of herself.
And once she used her nurse's salary to buy a small farm outside of town, Jennifer proved she could manage just fine on her own.
Jennifer was making sure that the bills were paid, the house was clean, that the laundry was done, that Brady was taken care of, that everything was taken care of.
She was a tough girl.
But in 2007, the 30-year-old tough girl developed a soft spot for an easygoing electrician's apprentice named Jim Nibby.
My younger brother, Jason, had a girlfriend at that time that went into diabetic shock, and Jim had discovered her. And so Jim called 911, and Jen came out on the ambulance call, and that's how they met.
Good-looking man, and they started out partying together and going out dating, and I think right from the beginning, she fell for him.
He was always smiling. He had a big cheesy grin, I always called it, that he was always grinning.
6 years younger than Jennifer, the 24-year-old was an avid outdoorsman.
Jim loved to hunt, loved to fish, was an excellent marksman, and they would go camping and spend time together, and it just seemed like they had a lot in common. She would go hunting with him.
And it didn't take too many hunting and fishing trips for Jim to decide that Jennifer was quite a catch.
She was successful, she was beautiful, she was hardworking. We thought, wow, good for Jim. He has, really done well for himself.
Jennifer appeared equally happy to be dating.
She was very giddy and very excited and happy. She had everything she wanted.
But despite her happiness, Jennifer made one thing clear to Jim.
It was a two-person package. If you wanted Jennifer, you had to accept Brady, or that was a deal breaker.
It was a deal that Jim was more than willing to make. Not quite a year after he and Jennifer started dating, Jim pulled her 14-year-old son aside and told him he was going to propose to his mother if Brady gave him the okay.
That kind of took me by surprise. He wanted to know if I approved first.
Brady said yes, and so did Jennifer.
She was very happy. I mean, she was excited. She goes, oh my gosh, you're the first person I've called. I've got to call Mom. I've got to call Dad. I've got to call everybody. And she was happy.
The couple married in May of 2008.
She seemed so happy. She made it sound like he was perfect.
But it wasn't long before Jennifer realized that there was at least one area where her new husband wasn't quite so perfect.
Jim was still doing an internship as an electrician.
Wiring new houses, wiring new hog barns, maintenance, repair, some grain elevator work, motor control, just about anything we could get our hands on.
It was hard work, but it didn't pay very well.
Jim was making $15,000 a year.
That meant that in addition to her teenage son, Jennifer suddenly had another young man to support.
She was paying the bills. She was buying the groceries.
To make ends meet, Jennifer often had to pull extra shifts.
She'd, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work at her first job, and then from there go to her other job until 11 o'clock at night.
Most nights, Jennifer went to bed exhausted, only to find Jim waiting for her.
She's expressed to me that sexually he was getting irritating as far as wanting to grope her all the time, wanting to just get on her all the time.
Soon, the strain of all those long hours and sleepless nights appeared to be taking a toll on Jennifer.
She had lost a bunch of weight. It just seemed like she was getting a little skinnier and a little skinnier.
It was looking unhealthy. She was losing so much weight.
Barely a year after Jennifer and Jim said, "I do," it was clear to everyone that the marriage was in trouble.
They started to grow apart.
Everything was all right, and then things just kind of just shift a little bit, one thing after another.
Was Jennifer just tired, or did she want someone else?
She started to realize, wow, there are different types of men out there that would appreciate me and love me.
According to Jennifer's cousin, Carrie Erickson, she was even contemplating separating from Jim permanently.
Jennifer expressed to me many times she felt like she was constantly giving, and just wasn't getting back.
She was becoming more and more frustrated with that and really needed him to pick it up, to start contributing more, helping pay the bills.
I told her that she really needed to just put it out there and tell him that you're ready for divorce if it does not change.
But before Jennifer could deliver her ultimatum, Jim surprised her. In the summer of 2010, he gave Jennifer a gift to remind her of the happier days they had spent fishing and hunting together. A brand new shotgun.
Jim bought one for her and surprised her with it.
He had taught her how to load it, unload it, and how to use it.
In fact, on the evening of August 30th, less than 24 hours before Jennifer called 911 and reported that her husband had been shot, he took her out in the backyard for a little target practice.
I got home from a football game, and then, I noticed they were outside shooting this gun.
Coming up, Jennifer reports an intruder.
There was a individual standing over her husband with a gun.
And her cousin Carrie reveals a shocking secret.
She had sent pretty explicit photographs to this man.
Lake Crystal, Minnesota, August 31st, 2010. It was just after 6 in the morning when the Blue Earth County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the home 33-year-old Jennifer Nibby shared with her husband, Jim. The 26-year-old apprentice electrician was dead, killed by a single gunshot wound to the head.
They had brought 2 ambulance personnel in to put a heart monitor on him, and there was no signs of life at all.
The killer had also wounded Jennifer.
On the upper portion of her legs, there were 3 cuts visible on each of her legs in the thigh area.
Jennifer's teenage son, Brady, was unharmed, however. He told the sheriff's deputies he had slept through the entire attack.
All of a sudden, my mom's crying, and the hall light's on, and she's on the phone with the police officer, and, she's bleeding.
While some deputies searched the house for clues, others escorted Jennifer and her son outside for questioning.
So we were kind of separated after we walked out of the house. We both went 2 different cop cars.
Unfortunately for the investigators, Brady could give them little information about the shooting.
Brady, who was sleeping in the house or was in the house at the time, did not even hear it.
But Jennifer had heard the shot. She told the police that she had been in the bathroom getting ready for work when her husband was killed.
She heard a loud noise. She opened the bathroom door and looked out, and there was a individual standing over her husband alongside the bed with a gun.
The gun, a 20-gauge shotgun, was hers, a recent gift from Jim.
She indicated that the gun that was in the bedroom belonged to the family.
According to Jennifer, the intruder hadn't just used her gun to kill Jim. He'd also turned it on her and pulled the trigger.
She heard a click, Didn't know if the safety was on or if the gun didn't have any ammunition in it, but the gun did not go off.
Jennifer said she tried to flee, but Jim's killer had grabbed her and dragged her into the living room.
Kind of a struggle ensues. They end up on the ground.
It happened very quickly. It's dark in the house, it's dark outside. So she didn't have a lot of detail in the description of the assailant.
According to Jennifer, it was during the struggle in the living room that the killer had slashed her legs with a knife.
He was pawing at her clothing.
It's appearing from what Jennifer Nibby's telling us that the motive is sexual assault.
However, in the middle of the assault, Jim's killer had suddenly stopped, spooked, Jennifer believed, by the family dog.
The dog was going crazy outside.
He tells her that she's lucky, and he gets up and runs out of the house.
Jennifer, it seemed, was lucky to be alive. But in the back of the patrol car, she blamed herself for Jim's death.
She was upset. She was crying, maybe a little bit hysterical.
According to Jennifer, she had left the kitchen door unlocked when she let the dog out that morning.
The only real way that this person could have gotten into the home was because the dog had been let out, because there wasn't forced entry into the home or anything like that.
Not only had she inadvertently let the intruder in, Jennifer said she had accidentally provided him with the murder weapon. Jennifer told the investigators that she and Jim had been out yesterday evening, target shooting at the back of the property.
It was with the gun that had been used to kill her husband.
And when they'd finished target shooting, according to Jennifer, she'd neglected to put the gun away. Instead, she'd left it leaning up against the wall beside the kitchen door. Once she had finished her statement, the investigators placed Jennifer in an ambulance.
Jennifer was taken to the hospital so that she could be examined to ensure that there was proper documentation of her injuries, get her any treatment that she needed.
But even as Jennifer was on her way to the hospital, the investigators were beginning to doubt her story of a mysterious intruder.
It smells funny. Just doesn't look right.
It seems like it'd be a really bad plan to break into somebody's house, assuming that there'd be a gun available, and you'd be able to, kill the husband so you can effect the sexual assault on the wife.
The attack just didn't seem to really make a lot of sense.
And the fact that Jennifer's story didn't make much sense wasn't the only reason the investigators doubted it. The alleged intruder had apparently come and gone without a trace.
It was muddy outside. It had been wet.
There were lack of tracks in the yard. There were lack of any type of tracks on the gravel road.
And the same was true inside the house.
No mud on the carpet, no tracks of any kind.
Even stranger, despite Jennifer's tale of wrestling with her attacker in the living room, there were few signs of a struggle.
There was a chair that was propped up on another piece of furniture, a magazine rack or a book stand or something, at kind of an odd angle that just seemed a little bit out of place.
And it just didn't fit. It just seemed like this seems staged, is the vibe we got.
In fact, the crime scene wasn't all that the investigators believed had been staged. They were also suspicious of the cuts on Jennifer's legs.
Those wounds in the same fashion on both legs, lining up with one another almost in a mirror fashion on each leg. It seemed odd.
The location of the wounds and the way the wounds looked, he said they appear to have been self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted wounds, a staged scene, and an intruder who left no trace. To the investigators, it all added up to one thing.
It appeared to be an inside job, so to speak.
And if Jim's killer had been someone in the house, that left the investigators with two potential suspects, Jennifer and her 16-year-old son.
There isn't really those red flags or those concerns that are popping up with the son.
Everything was pointing that she was the one that pulled the trigger.
Hoping to find some answers, the investigators turned to Jim's family.
The captain of the sheriff's department, he said, "Are you Leslie?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm sorry, there's been a shooting and your brother's been killed."
But when the investigators asked if Jennifer had any reason to want Jim dead, the family admitted that their marriage hadn't been perfect, that they'd grown apart. But as far as they knew, the frictions fell far short of a motive for murder.
Over the course of time, I watched the nature of their relationship change like any marriage does. She began to spend more time with friends and was gone a lot more.
Curiously, it was only when they started talking to Jennifer's family that the trouble in the marriage started to look more sinister. Jennifer's father told the investigators that his daughter and son-in-law were in desperate financial shape.
She was carrying $20,000 worth of credit card debt. She had a second mortgage on the house with a bank of $20,000.
They were behind on the house payments. There were all sorts of financial issues.
And her cousin even revealed that Jennifer had recently started flirting with an old flame.
Around June, she started texting a man, and it was not a physical relationship. It was just a per se sexting relationship.
Although, according to Carrie, there were signs that Jennifer wanted the relationship to escalate.
She did tell me that she had sent pretty explicit photographs to this man.
Photographs of a sexual nature that appeared to have been taken by herself, and also videos that appeared to have been taken by herself of a sexual nature.
As far as Carrie knew, Jennifer hadn't followed through on her desires. Yet.
It hadn't developed or, went to that point of becoming a physical relationship.
In fact, Carrie told the police that she had urged Jennifer to wait.
That was a discussion that we had, whether to meet him or not. And I told her not to do that.
Was Jennifer's sexting affair a motive for murder? Or was the pretty blonde hiding something even more damaging? Coming up, the authorities take Jennifer into custody.
She seemed a little surprised to see us.
And Jennifer offers up a surprise of her own.
It was like someone was telling me. It's the devil.
Within hours of the frantic 911 call Jennifer Nibby made on August 31st, 2010, Blue Earth County, Minnesota authorities had already started to doubt her story that an intruder had broken in and shot her husband.
There was no physical evidence to show that there was an intruder in the residence other than what she had to say.
In the days following the murder, the investigators' suspicion of Jennifer had only deepened, especially after her cousin informed them that Jennifer was having a steamy sexting affair with another man.
I did read a couple of texts from this man, and they were pretty explicit as far as what he wanted done to him and what he would do to her.
And when the investigators pulled her phone records, they discovered that Jennifer's responses had been just as explicit.
There were pictures of her that had been sent to him, naked pictures.
And in Jennifer's journals, she made it clear that her marriage was in trouble.
There were some entries that indicated that she was not happy with her relationship with her husband, Jim, and that it was really hard for her to live as she was living because of the way she felt about this other individual.
Jennifer's father also told the investigators that she and Jim had been in deep financial trouble, an assertion that fit with evidence recovered from Jim and Jennifer's house.
When we processed the scene, we found credit card records and letters from creditors and collection agencies.
And when the investigators started sifting through the financial records and receipts they removed from the crime scene, they found something else.
We found a number of receipts where she had obtained tramadol through the mail.
A prescription painkiller, tramadol was typically used to treat ailments such as rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia.
It has an opiate-like effect.
Had the registered nurse become addicted to prescription painkillers?
She had possibly been forging some prescriptions, stealing prescription pads from the surgery center.
According to her sister-in-law, it would also explain Jennifer's odd behavior.
My husband said to me earlier that summer, I think that there's something wrong with her. He said she either has cancer or she's taking drugs.
She seemed irritable, and to me, she always seemed tired. She was always off doing her own thing.
Jennifer wasn't just busy getting her pills. She was also scrambling to pay for them.
Her tramadol use did appear to take a substantial portion of money just by looking through the check register and the amount of checks that she had written.
and when the investigators started digging deeper into Jennifer's financials, they discovered that Jim's death would potentially lead to a big payoff.
There was a $250,000 life insurance policy on Jim.
Considering the fact that Jennifer was the couple's primary breadwinner, the amount of insurance on Jim seemed strange to the investigators. And the fact that the policy had been taken out just 3 months before Jim's murder struck the investigators as downright suspicious.
It was in a very short proximity to the time of the murder.
On September 10th, a week and a half after her husband's murder, Blue Earth County Sheriff's deputies arrested Jennifer outside the surgery center where she worked.
She seemed to be maybe a little bit shocked that we were there, a little surprised to see us.
Jim's family was just as shocked at the news.
The disappointment and the betrayal and the hurt that you feel when you learn who is responsible for taking your brother's life, it is the lowest, darkest feeling you could possibly have.
That night, Jennifer was booked into the Blue Earth County Jail on the charge of second-degree murder.
In the state of Minnesota, first-degree charges can come only by indictment from a grand jury.
The next day, Jennifer was questioned by the investigators, and she came clean about her drug habit.
I have an addiction to prescription pain pills.
It had started more than 2 years earlier, and the amount of pain pills Jennifer said she was currently taking was staggering.
How much are you using right now? How much had you been using on average?
180 pills a week.
Oh.
She was taking certainly at least 10 times or more the dose that you're supposed to be taking.
Kind of spirals out of control. It's not just one pill. It's all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're taking 15. It's out of control.
The pressure of everything, the finances, and the drugs. You live your day for that next fix.
According to Jennifer, the pressure and her dosage had been mounting in the days before the murder. So much so that on the morning of August 31st, she had taken her first handful of pills at 4:30 a.m.
I had a couple more pills laying on the nightstand that I had taken. I'm trying to remember if I had water there, if I just took them dry. I don't even know.
Jennifer said she had fallen back to sleep after popping the pills.
And I woke up at 5:30 in a panic.
Jennifer told the police that in her panicked state, she had stumbled into the kitchen and found the shotgun leaning up against the wall.
I got to bed. And I loaded one shell.
Then, Jennifer said she had returned to the bedroom where her husband was still sleeping.
She talked about frustration with him over the finances, over his lack of motivation, I believe, that type of thing. She talked about being frustrated that he certainly wanted to have sexual relations more than she did.
And she talked about the voices she'd heard that morning.
It was like someone was telling me, it's the devil.
Jennifer said that urged on by the voices in her head, she'd placed the muzzle of the shotgun against Jim's head.
And there was a throw blanket laying on the end of the bed. So I took that and kind of rested the gun on his shoulder.
And all the while, according to Jennifer, the voices kept echoing inside her head.
I just kept saying, "It's the devil, it's the devil."
Until finally, it was more than she could stand.
Then I pulled the trigger.
But if Jennifer had been in the drug-induced haze that she claimed, her mind was surprisingly clear moments later. In the interview, she detailed how she had overturned furniture to stage the scene and slashed her own legs with a kitchen knife to give the impression that an intruder had attacked her.
So the cuts on your legs,
Yeah.
you inflicted?
Yes.
Finally, at the end of her confession, she told the investigators she was sorry for what she had done.
It was somewhat striking to me that she showed remorse.
I took somebody's son and I took somebody's brother. a grandson and uncle, and he was a good person. He was a good person.
By the time the interrogation was over and Jennifer was escorted back to her jail cell, the authorities were confident she'd given them more than enough to secure a grand jury indictment for first-degree murder.
The difference between the second-degree murder and the first-degree murder was the element of premeditation.
Getting up out of bed and walking out into another room and getting a shotgun and loading a shotgun and walking back, at that point you're making that conscientious effort to commit this crime.
And that meant that Jennifer potentially faced some serious time.
If you're convicted of premeditated first-degree murder, it would carry life without parole.
Coming up, the prosecutors figure they have an ironclad case.
She admitted to shooting her husband.
But then Jennifer makes another revelation.
The night that she shot him, he forcibly raped her.
Meditation wasn't all that Jennifer had talked about during her confession.
She did talk about hearing voices and just having this, he's the devil and I need to get rid of it, or I need to get rid of him thought process going on.
And based on those bizarre statements, Jennifer's attorney made a bold move before the grand jury could convene.
Her defense attorney requested a mental examination, a Rule 20 examination, to determine whether she was competent to stand trial.
In their request, Jennifer's defense team made a startling claim. She had no memory of making the confession.
She, initially in talking to us, could not remember even giving that statement.
According to her attorneys, there was a simple explanation for Jennifer's sudden memory loss: her addiction to prescription painkillers.
Certainly with the levels that she was taking, I mean, they were lethal doses. And you would say that, oh, by taking that much, certainly going to have effect on your memory.
You could have some ill effects from withdrawal, and that could include hallucinations, sleeplessness, irritability.
Jennifer's attorneys also suggested that those same ill effects made the accuracy of her confession highly questionable.
And that was certainly a grave concern to the defense team.
Although for Jim's family, Jennifer's sudden memory loss appeared awfully convenient.
Her memory loss started 2 hours after her public defender got a hold of her, and then all of a sudden she couldn't remember anything.
In the end, however, the question of Jennifer's mental competency only bought her a few months' time.
The court-appointed examiner issued an opinion to the judge that she was competent to stand trial and that she was competent at the time that she committed the offense.
Based on the psych exam's finding, the judge ruled that Jennifer was competent to stand trial. And on March 30th, 2011, the grand jury finally handed down their indictment.
And the case was presented to the grand jury, and the grand jury indicted her with first-degree premeditated murder.
But with their client now facing first-degree murder charges and the possibility of a life sentence, the defense decided it was time to get their own psychological assessment.
One of the therapists that evaluated her said that she showed signs of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Only according to the defense, it hadn't been brought on entirely by the traumatic stress of her husband's death. During her sessions with the defense's therapist, Jennifer's memories had apparently started to return.
Bits and pieces of her memory were coming back.
And those bits and pieces added up to a disturbing picture of her marriage to Jim.
She started to slowly relay particular incidences of abuse of both physical and a sexual nature.
He would choke her till she blacked out and then have his way with her. She would lay there and wake up on her own. Sometime after it was all over with, and she'd find herself laying in a bunch of blood.
She indicated that it happened on at least a weekly basis, sometimes more.
And that included, according to Jennifer, the night Jim died.
She says that he forcibly raped her twice the night that she shot him.
The defense seized on Jennifer's sudden flood of repressed memories.
There was an act in the heat of passion that was caused by abuse, and post-traumatic stress disorder was part of the reason for that.
But the defense also faced one significant problem: finding proof to back up those recovered memories.
She never referred to any type of physical abuse to anyone.
Not even her father.
If I would have suspected at that time that there was abuse going on, I would have put a stop to it immediately.
Jennifer had never filed a police report against Jim, nor had she said anything about his alleged abuse after the shooting when questioned by the police.
But as far as actual physical abuse, she never said anything about that. She called her husband a good person.
He was a good person. He was a good person.
So why the sudden about face? According to Jim's family, the answer was simple.
The entire abuse allegation, that was her defense, because she had already confessed.
She said where they went, what they did, what time they were going to do it, and it's impossible for me to believe that she would then submit to abuse later.
But then, as they prepared to take the case to trial, the defense stumbled upon something in Jim's autopsy that they hoped could give credence to Jennifer's claims.
There had been some presumptive positive test on the blood of James Nibby that indicated that he was HIV positive.
If Jim was HIV positive, the defense could argue that perhaps Jim wasn't the good husband that many believed him to be.
Maybe he was leading more of a double life than Jennifer had perhaps thought about or known about.
The HIV, it just kind of all fit a pattern of someone who had some deep-seated sexual issues.
In August of 2011, Jennifer's defense team went public with the results of Jim's HIV screening.
The defense obviously wanted to raise that in an attempt to show that there were issues in the marriage to go along with what they intended to show that he was abusive.
But there was one big problem. According to the prosecutors, the HIV test result was unreliable.
The medical examiner says that's just a screen they do. You can't screen it out, you can't do anything, but you get a lot of false positives in the post-mortem.
It was not proven that he was truly HIV positive.
In fact, Jim had tested negative for HIV just months before his death.
Jim was not HIV positive in June when he tested for his $250,000 life insurance policy.
It was the very same policy the authorities believed had been a factor in Jim's death.
The life insurance, given the financial situation that the family was in, that she was in, what she had been doing, and yes, that is one consideration with respect to motive.
Coming up, Jennifer faces a tough decision.
She wanted to roll the dice. I was more than happy to let her do so.
But will the outcome be everything Jim's family hoped for?
She got away with murder.
By the summer of 2012, Jennifer Nibby had been sitting in the Blue Earth County, Minnesota jail for almost 2 years. Awaiting trial for murder, the 35-year-old had initially confessed to killing her husband Jim in 2010.
In the confession, she said that she loved him and that he was a good person and that he didn't deserve this.
However, in the months following that confession, Jennifer's attorneys had claimed that she suffered from post-traumatic stress, the result of intense physical abuse at the hands of her husband.
The actual defense was a heat of passion because of sustained and systemic physical and sexual and emotional abuse.
But as the trial grew closer, her defense had begun to break down. Other than Jennifer's word, there was little to back up her claims of abuse.
We did not find any evidence or any record of her ever contacting the police or reporting officially any abuse.
There was also plenty of doubt surrounding the validity of the defense's claim that Jim was HIV positive.
You get a lot of false positives in the post-mortem when the body has been laying that long.
Therefore, the prosecutors were pretty confident they could get a conviction if the case went to trial.
If she wanted to roll the dice, I was more than happy to let her.
But they weren't exactly surprised when in June of 2012, Jennifer's attorneys approached the prosecution, looking for a deal.
She was facing life without parole. She's got a confession on her. The police had a pretty substantial amount of evidence against her.
After consulting with Jim's family, the prosecutor made an offer. They would forego the death penalty if Jennifer agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder.
And I told the prosecutor that we would leave it up to him, that we trusted what he would do.
Jennifer took the deal. In court on June 20th, 2012, she pled guilty to the charge of second-degree murder.
Ultimately, she's the one who made the determination that she wished to accept the state's offer.
However, when speaking before the court at her sentencing hearing on July 9th, Jennifer still clung stubbornly to her defense.
She claimed that she couldn't recall anything, hardly anything about the events.
It was a frustrating experience for Jim's family.
She doesn't have any clear memory of anything except abuse. She's got crystal clear total recall of that.
But the biggest disappointment came later in the hearing, when the judge handed down his sentence. 25 years in prison, with the possibility of supervised release in 15 years.
We believe that she got away with murder.
And that fact, more than anything, leaves Jim's family feeling that they were cheated out of justice.
She will get to see her son's children. She will get to continue her life, and we will never see Jim again.
The human psyche is an intricate tapestry, woven with threads of ambition, vulnerability, and the hidden desires that can, under immense pressure, unravel into acts of unimaginable tragedy. Our story begins not with a whimper, but with the sudden, shattering report of a firearm, and the desperate, trembling voice of a woman seeking help in the pre-dawn stillness of a Minnesota morning. It is a tale that will lead us down a twisting path, where appearances are deceiving, secrets fester in the shadows, and the search for truth requires an unwavering commitment from those dedicated to justice. We peel back the layers of a seemingly conventional life to expose the cracks beneath, revealing a narrative far more complex and troubling than initially presumed. At 30, Jennifer Gilman was a single mom with a successful career. This initial framing presents a portrait of strength, independence, and achievement. Jennifer Gilman, at this significant milestone, had already carved out a life for herself marked by professional accomplishment and the immense responsibility of single parenthood. The age of 30 often represents a period of settled ambition, a moment where many individuals reflect on their hard-won stability. For Jennifer, this stability was hard-earned, forged through dedication and a formidable will. Her identity as a single mom conveyed a deep commitment to her child, a role that demanded sacrifices and a resilient spirit. Furthermore, possessing a successful career underscored her capability, her intelligence, and her relentless drive, hinting at a woman who navigated the complexities of life with admirable self-sufficiency. Indeed, her independent streak extended deeply into her philosophy on personal relationships. She never was of a mind to get married. This statement spoke volumes about her priorities and her perhaps pragmatic, perhaps self-protective, view on romantic entanglements. She was not a woman seemingly swept away by the societal expectations of matrimony, suggesting a strong preference for autonomy and self-determination over perceived benefits or comforts of a traditional marital union. This profound independence had been a defining characteristic of her journey, shaping her decisions and her self-perception. However, as fate or perhaps a unique vulnerability, often dictates. Even the most resolute among us can encounter an unexpected gravitational pull. But then she met 24-year-old Jim Knibb. The introduction of Jim, significantly younger than Jennifer by 6 years, signaled a deviation from her established patterns. The age difference alone might have raised an eyebrow, suggesting a dynamic that perhaps offered Jennifer something different from her usual experiences. Their meeting marked a new chapter, one that would dramatically alter the trajectory of her meticulously constructed life and that of her family. Jennifer's initial perception of Jim was characterized by an almost romantic idealization, a stark contrast to her previous disinclination towards serious commitment. She made it so like he was perfect. This statement is loaded with subtle, yet significant psychological insight. The phrase, "she made it so like he was perfect," suggested not merely an objective assessment of Jim's qualities, but rather a subjective construction, a projection of an ideal onto him. It hinted at a deep yearning within Jennifer, perhaps unrecognized even by herself, for a relationship that fulfilled an unarticulated need. This initial, intense idealization often carries within it the seeds of future disillusionment, as reality inevitably falls short of idealized perfection. The relationship blossomed quickly, culminating in marriage, yet the swiftness of this progression perhaps belied a superficiality that could not withstand the pressures of daily life. As a detective novelist, I've observed that such intense initial connections, when built on idealizations, can be inherently fragile. The subsequent events tragically confirm this fragility. The marriage would be brief. The concise, almost foreboding, brevity of this statement underscored the fundamental instability that quickly beset their union. Marriage, typically viewed as a long-term commitment, proved for Jennifer and Jim to be a fleeting venture, barely capable of sustaining itself beyond its initial blush. This transience was rapidly followed by an undeniable emotional estrangement. They started to grow apart. This naturalistic description of marital decay often conceals a multitude of unspoken grievances, unmet expectations, and diverging paths that silently erode the bonds of affection and companionship. The slow, insidious creep of emotional distance can often be more destructive than outright conflict, leaving couples isolated within their shared space. However, the impending conclusion to this increasingly strained relationship would be anything but conventional, but it wouldn't end in divorce. This ominous pronouncement dramatically raised the stakes, transforming a predictable outcome of separation into something far more sinister and tragic. The unspoken implication hung heavy in the air. If not divorce, then what? The grim answer would soon manifest itself in a scene of chaos and despair. The first responders, arriving at the scene, found a bewildered, distressed woman. The desperate cry to a voice on the other end of the emergency line captured the stark, immediate horror of the discovery. "I'm sorry, somebody's not your husband." These fragmented words, uttered in a state of distress, hinted at a reality so profoundly disturbing that it defies easy articulation, underscoring the immediate challenge of deciphering truth from terror. The initial report from Jennifer herself, made in the throes of apparent shock, introduced a common, yet often problematic, narrative in crime investigations. She initially reported that there was an armed intruder. This claim of an armed intruder served as the immediate working hypothesis, directing the first waves of law enforcement to search for an external threat, an unknown assailant who had violently breached the sanctity of her home. It painted a picture of victimhood and random aggression, a narrative that often draws immediate sympathy and demands an urgent, externalized response. However, experienced investigators often learn that the most direct account is not always the most accurate. The unfolding inquiry would soon reveal a labyrinth of deceit and deeply personal failings, and the investigation would expose far more than just a troubled marriage. This crucial statement indicated that the case would delve beyond superficial marital strife. unearthing deeper, more clandestine issues that permeated Jennifer's life. As the layers of her personal life began to peel away under the scrutinizing gaze of law enforcement, a startling collection of revelations came to light. She had sent pretty explicit photographs to this man. This detail immediately introduced a dimension of profound infidelity and a serious breach of marital trust, painting a picture of covert emotional and perhaps physical liaisons that would provide a potent motive in many criminal cases. The subsequent clarification, nude texts and apparent videos, further underscored the explicit nature and extent of this digital indiscretion, demonstrating a premeditated engagement in a secret life hidden from her husband. These actions, far from being casual flirtations, suggested a deep-seated dissatisfaction or an active pursuit of alternative connections, shattering the veneer of her respectable life. Yet, the layers of deception extended beyond illicit communications. They delved into more alarming, and perhaps even illegal, activities. She had been forging some prescriptions. This revelation, exposing her engagement in the fraudulent procurement of controlled substances, hinted at an escalating pattern of dangerous behavior, indicative of a mind perhaps struggling with a significant addiction or an escalating disregard for legal and ethical boundaries. Ultimately, these cumulative revelations were poised to cast a profound shadow over Jennifer's credibility and mental stability. It would also raise questions about Jennifer's grip on reality. This was the central psychological enigma that would plague the investigation. How much of Jennifer's perception and narrative was anchored in objective truth, and how much was a distorted construction of a mind under duress, driven by addiction, or burdened by guilt? The phrase grip on reality highlighted the profound challenge of discerning lucidity from delusion, conscious fabrication from drug-induced fantasy. These initial hints set the stage for a dramatic unraveling, where the pursuit of justice would inevitably become intertwined with a deep dive into the complex and often shadowy corners of human behavior, the echoes of a seemingly mundane conversation. "Thank you, Mrs. Fleming. You're welcome. I'm home," would soon be brutally silenced, replaced by the chaotic screams of violence and the urgent demands of a 911 operator. The quiet, pre-dawn calm of August 31st, 2010, in Lake Crystal, Minnesota, was abruptly and violently shattered by a frantic call that ripped through the silence, pulling law enforcement into a scene of domestic horror. August 31st, 2010, Lake Crystal, Minnesota. The specificity of the date and location firmly established the temporal and geographical anchors for our narrative, transforming a sleepy rural community into the epicenter of a murder investigation. It was a moment of transition from night to morning, where shadows still clung to the edges of the world, a fitting backdrop for confusion and terror that was about to unfold. It was not quite 6 a.m. when Blue Earth County 911 received a frantic call from 33-year-old Jennifer Knibb. The precise timestamp, not quite 6 a.m., emphasized the unsettling prematurity of the event, an interruption of a natural waking rhythm. The designation of the call as frantic immediately conveyed Jennifer Knibb's state of extreme distress, her voice conveying a palpable sense of urgency and terror as she contacted emergency services from her home in Blue Earth County. Her words, captured by the chilling anonymity of the emergency dispatcher's recording, were raw, unadulterated pleas for help. "Oh my gosh! Please help us. Please help us." These desperate exclamations conveyed a primal fear, a profound sense of helplessness in the face of an immediate, overwhelming threat. The repeated phrase, "Please help us," underscored the gravity of her plea, signaling an emergency situation demanding immediate intervention. Jennifer, in her distraught state, then relayed her initial account of catastrophe. She initially reported to the 911 dispatcher that there was an armed intruder that came into her house. This immediate attribution of the violence to an armed intruder established a Foundational narrative for the unfolding investigation. It positioned Jennifer as a victim, a survivor of a violent home invasion, a story designed to evoke sympathy and guide the subsequent police response toward an external assailant. The very essence of her call, however, began to reveal subtle incongruities. Moment of conversational struggle as a dispatcher tried to process her fragmented statements. You made this case. She's not my husband. Somebody got your husband? This exchange between Jennifer and the dispatcher, even in its raw, real-time quality, indicated a struggle for clarity. The dispatcher's questions were direct, seeking to confirm the identity of the victim and the nature of the emergency, pressing for coherent details amidst Jennifer's emotional turmoil. The chilling revelation, she's not my husband, immediately focused the dispatcher on the primary victim. Jennifer's narrative extended to include her own suffering at the hands of the supposed intruder. According to Jennifer, the intruder had attacked her, too. This was a common element in staged crime scenes. To add credence to the external assailant theory, the purported victim often claims to have also been a target. Jennifer's fragmented account of her own injuries reinforced this. He got me when I told you. Got you. He got me. These broken sentences, a jumble of raw feeling, conveyed the alleged terror of the physical assault she claimed to have endured. The repetition of, he got me, served to reinforce her victimhood, painting a picture of physical struggle and injury. Following this alleged double assault, Jennifer claimed the assailant had vanished as swiftly and mysteriously as he had appeared. And then the intruder had apparently fled. He came out the front door, and I don't know which way he went. I can't be honest. I was on the floor. The description of the intruder's escape out the front door provided a plausible exit route for an external assailant. Her subsequent vagueness, I don't know which way he went. I can't be honest. I was on the floor, while seemingly indicative of post-traumatic confusion, could also be interpreted as strategic ambiguity, a deliberate lack of precise detail designed to prevent effective pursuit or identification. The inherent contradictions in such statements will become a significant area of focus for the investigative team. In response to Jennifer's frantic call, the quiet rural community experienced a sudden, urgent influx of law enforcement. Law enforcement rushed to the rural home in the quiet community about an hour and a half outside Minneapolis. The swift mobilization of police and emergency personnel shattered the typical tranquility of a peaceful, isolated setting. The distance from Minneapolis highlighted the remoteness, yet underscored the urgency of the response, given the severity of the reported crime. A local hero, already in motion for his daily duties, was among the first to arrive. Our sheriff was on his way into work. He was probably 6-7 miles away when the initial call came in. I think he was on scene just a couple minutes after 6. The fortuitous proximity of the sheriff, actively heading into work just 6-7 miles away, meant an exceptionally rapid response time, crucial in any life-threatening situation. His arrival, a mere couple minutes after 6 a.m., placed him directly into chaotic and critical moments of the immediate aftermath, ensuring an authoritative and experienced presence from the outset. Upon his arrival, the scene presented an immediate picture of distress. At the scene, the sheriff found Jennifer and her teenage son, Brady, who'd been asleep when the shooting occurred. The discovery of Jennifer and her teenage son, Brady, both seemingly traumatized, confirmed their presence in the home at the time of the alleged attack. Brady's unconscious state, asleep when the shooting occurred, meant he would not have been an eyewitness to the event, a crucial piece of information that limited his initial capacity to corroborate his mother's story. His raw emotional account to the authorities conveyed the horror of being abruptly awakened into a nightmare. When she woke me up, she was bawling, and she told me that Jim had been shot. This poignant detail underscored the immediate distress Jennifer communicated to her son, and Brady's abrupt immersion into the tragic reality of his stepfather's critical injury. The gruesome extent of Jim's wounds quickly became apparent. It was obvious. A good portion of the back of his head was missing. This stark, unvarnished description left little to the imagination about the devastating lethality of the injury. The phrase, a good portion of the back of his head was missing, communicated the extreme violence inflicted upon Jim, leaving no doubt about the severity of the shooting and the immediate gravity of his condition. It was a horrific sight that indelibly etched itself into the minds of those who bore witness. As law enforcement began to secure the scene, paramedics quickly turned their attention to Jennifer's claimed injuries. When paramedics arrived, turned to Jennifer's wounds. She had, cuts in her blood everywhere. The presence of cuts in her blood everywhere superficially supported Jennifer's account of being attacked by the intruder, but the imprecise nature of, cuts immediately raised an investigator's eyebrow, hinting at wounds that might lack the definitive characteristics of defensive or forceful struggle. Meanwhile, the methodical machinery of police investigation fanned out, searching for any trace of the supposed assailant. Meanwhile, sheriff's deputies fanned out around the house, determined to find the killer's trail. The systematic search, a standard protocol in such cases, was aimed at identifying any physical evidence of an intruder's presence or path of escape. They meticulously combed the property. There were numerous people that checked the area. They checked the area around the property, every inch of the surrounding landscape, from the immediate vicinity of the house to the property's perimeters, was scrutinized for footprints, discarded weapons, or any telltale signs of a fleeing perpetrator. However, the intensive search yielded a profoundly unsettling emptiness. There was no sign of the mysterious intruder, but there were several holes in Jennifer's story. This stark conclusion marked the first significant pivot in the investigation: the absence of any corroborating physical evidence for a mysterious intruder stood in direct contradiction to Jennifer's frantic initial report. The phrase, "no sign of the mysterious intruder," created a vacuum of external explanation. More crucially, the emerging presence of several holes in Jennifer's story signaled an increasing skepticism among investigators. These holes represented inconsistencies, implausibilities, and a lack of logical coherence that began to unravel the fabricated narrative, steering the investigation away from an external killer and inexorably inward towards Jennifer herself. This early stage of doubt was critical, transforming a seemingly straightforward home invasion into a complex, perplexing puzzle demanding deeper scrutiny and analysis. To truly comprehend the woman at the heart of this unfolding tragedy, the investigators, as keen psychological analysts, knew they had to delve into the genesis of Jennifer's character, tracing her life from its humble beginnings to the accomplished woman she had become. Born in 1977, Jennifer Gilman grew up in the small town of Lake Crystal, Minnesota. This temporal and geographical marker situated Jennifer firmly within a specific cultural context: a small town upbringing in rural Minnesota. Lake Crystal, a community of modest size, would have shaped her worldview and her early experiences. The sense of intimate familiarity within such a locale was palpable. I once say there are around 1,600 people, maybe 2,000 people or so. Everybody pretty much seems to know one another. This demographic detail underscored the close-knit nature of the community, where anonymity was a rarity and individual lives were often intertwined with shared histories. In such an environment, reputation and social standing held considerable weight. Jennifer, it seemed, flourished within this familiar social fabric, demonstrating an early aptitude for connection and adaptability. Jennifer was no exception. Jennifer had a lot of friends from all ages. It didn't matter if it was from our grade or younger or older. Her exceptional social skills, making a lot of friends from all ages, highlighted her amiable personality and her capacity to forge connections across various social groups, demonstrating a natural magnetism. Her ability to fit in really wherever she went spoke to her. social fluidity, and adaptability, making her a beloved and recognizable figure in the town. Her home life mirrored the idyllic simplicity often associated with such rural settings. And her home life was like that of any small-town girl. You know, climbing in the trees, eating mud pies. These nostalgic images evoked a childhood characterized by innocence, outdoor adventures, and a close connection to nature, painting a picture of carefree days and simple joys. The familial bonds extended beyond the immediate household, and it definitely trips in, to Mankaco to spend time with Grandma and Grandpa. We always enjoyed that, too. These periodic trips to Mankaco for intergenerational connections with her Grandma and Grandpa reinforced the warmth and rootedness of her family background, underscoring the strong familial support that would prove so crucial later in her life. Physically, Jennifer was blessed with an inherent attractiveness that naturally drew attention. When it came to boyfriends, the pretty blonde had her pick. She was very popular with the boys. She was very, very beautiful. This description painted her as possessing striking physical attributes, naturally leading to very popular with the boys, and suggesting that she wielded considerable social currency through her attractiveness. The emphatic repetition of very, very beautiful left no doubt about her outward appeal. However, Jennifer was far more than just superficial beauty. But there was more to Jennifer than just a pretty face. This vital distinction acknowledged her outward attractiveness while emphasizing the depth of her character and her multifaceted talents. She was very active: volleyball, softball, cheerleading. Her participation in multiple sports, including volleyball, softball, cheerleading, showcased her boundless energy, her competitive spirit, and her dedication to extracurricular activities, reflecting a driven and engaged young woman. Her intelligence, too, was a distinguishing trait. She was very smart academically and very smart. The repetition here reinforced not just a passive intelligence, but an active, applied intellectual capacity that extended beyond the classroom. These characteristics collectively painted a picture of a well-rounded, capable, and highly regarded young woman. However, even the most promising lives can be dramatically altered by unforeseen events. And for Jennifer, a profound, life-changing moment arrived at a tender age. However, when she was just 16, Jennifer sat down with her family and made a startling confession. The youthfulness of just 16-inch underscored the vulnerability of the moment, placing her at a critical developmental stage where such news would be particularly impactful. The term startling confession hinted at the immense personal gravity of the revelation, the courage it must have taken to utter. Her confession, life-altering in its implications, was both profound and deeply personal. She was pregnant. This was the core truth that would forever reshape her trajectory. The emotional conflict she expressed to her family was deeply human. She wanted the baby, but she just didn't know how she was going to be able to deal with it. With everything that was going to be coming, 16 years old, that's awful young. This raw articulation of her desire for the child, coupled with her profound apprehension about the daunting challenges ahead, perfectly captured the overwhelming nature of the situation for such a young girl. The realization that 16 years old, that's awful young, echoed the universal understanding of the immense burden placed upon her shoulders. Despite the inherent surprise, Jennifer's family demonstrated remarkable love and support, embracing the news with an inspiring sense of acceptance. It was a surprise, yet she embraced it. We all embraced it, and we looked at it as a gift. This was a profoundly compassionate response. The family's collective embrace of the situation, viewing the impending child not as a burden, but as a gift, spoke volumes about their unconditional love and their strong moral compass. It created an environment of support that was critical for Jennifer in those vulnerable years, even with the child's biological father stepping up to take responsibility. The inherent challenges of young motherhood were undeniable. Even with the baby's father taking responsibility, it would be hard for a young mother. His involvement, he was involved with Brady since Brady was born, offered a degree of shared responsibility. Yet it did not negate the immense personal burden Jennifer would carry. The immaturity of the parents proved to be a factor in their eventual separation. But him and Jennifer just didn't. They were young. They were just very young, and that just didn't stick. This poignant observation highlighted the fragility of their youthful connection, as the immense pressures of early parenthood proved too formidable for their developing selves. Jennifer's determination, however, burned brightly through these early challenges. Not only was Jennifer determined to keep her baby, she was just as determined to stay in school. This dual commitment showcased her formidable will and her clear vision for her future. Her refusal to abandon either her child or her education spoke to an incredible resilience. She maintained an astonishing degree of normalcy against all odds. She went to school every day like a normal teenage kid would do, except for she was pregnant. This seemingly effortless maintenance of routine, even with the profound physical and emotional demands of pregnancy, underscored her exceptional drive. In February of 1994, a new life entered the world, forever solidifying Jennifer's purpose. In February of 1994, Jennifer gave birth to a son, Brady. Brady's arrival marked a turning point, refocusing Jennifer's entire existence. Once Brady was born, that was the love of her life. Whatever Brady needed, that came first. This declaration of unwavering maternal devotion provided a central tenet of Jennifer's character. Her son was her absolute priority, eclipsing all other concerns. This profound love fueled her ambition, and that included being able to provide for him. Her drive to provide for him was a powerful motivating force. Ensuring his well-being became the primary engine for her subsequent career pursuits. Her commitment to both her child and her education remained steadfast, even as the challenges mounted. Even after she had Brady, she just kept fighting and kept on going to school. The persistent struggle, the unyielding effort to keep fighting and keep on going to school was a testament to her fierce independence and her relentless pursuit of a better future for her. So, the emotional toll of her journey resonated with those who witnessed her struggle. It must be hard. I couldn't imagine having a child right now and be able to do it on my own the way she did. It was pretty impressive to me. This heartfelt admiration from an observer underscored the exceptional nature of Jennifer's achievements. To navigate young motherhood, rigorous education, and financial independence, particularly in an era with fewer societal support structures, was indeed pretty impressive. Her steadfast commitment extended through her secondary education. She continued to live at home until she got done with high school, this familial support during. Her high school years provided a stable base, allowing her to focus on her education and child rearing without immediate financial pressure. Jennifer's journey of self-sufficiency continued past graduation, as she set her sights on a demanding yet rewarding professional path. Jennifer graduated from high school and then set her sights on college. Her aspiration for a higher education was a testament to her intellectual curiosity and her desire for upward mobility for herself and for Brady. She actively sought out the means to achieve her goals. She went out and found out what student loans she needed. If there was grants, she did all the work. She did all the legwork. This proactive approach, meticulously researching student loans and grants, highlighted her self-reliant nature. The phrase, she did all the work, she did all the legwork, painted a vivid picture of her meticulous planning and unyielding effort, demonstrating her capacity for meticulous execution of her ambitions. This strength of character was an inherent part of her being. She was just always a very strong-willed person, whereas family, you just kind of take a word for her because she's going to do what she wants to do, and that's just all there is to it. This assessment from her family captured her formidable, strong-willed nature, a woman who charted her own course and relentlessly pursued her objectives. By 1999, Jennifer had achieved a significant milestone, a testament to her perseverance and her clear vision for her life. In 1999, Jennifer received her nursing degree. This hard-won credential opened the door to a stable and respected profession, fulfilling her ambition to provide for Brady. The support of her family remained a crucial backbone throughout her educational journey. She had a lot of family that was willing to support her and help her with her son so that she could do that, but she basically put herself through college while benefiting from this invaluable family that was willing to support her. The phrase, "she basically put herself through college," underscored her personal drive, her financial acumen in navigating student loans and grants, and her independent efforts in balancing study, work, and motherhood. Following graduation, her career rapidly took shape, demonstrating her capacity for diligence and hard work. After graduation, 22-year-old Jennifer took a full-time job at a local surgery center and worked extra shifts. As an EMT, at the youthful age of 22, she had already secured a full-time job at a local surgery center and diligently worked extra shifts as an EMT, showcasing extraordinary work ethic and a profound commitment to her chosen profession. This dedication provided her with a robust sense of security. She really kind of had her life together. This observation summed up her remarkable trajectory. A young woman, a single mother who had defied expectations and built a secure, successful future for herself and her son. The words "very hardworking," "very driven," accurately characterize her unwavering approach to life. She beat the odds. Anybody that said that, you will never succeed as a young mother, she really showed people different. She really made something of herself. This powerful testament acknowledged her triumph over societal skepticism and low expectations, embodying the spirit of fierce independence and self-reliance that defined her. Jennifer had truly made something of herself, achieving a degree of stability and success that few could predict it for a teenage mother. With a successful career and a loving son, Jennifer's life appeared complete, at least according to her own internal compass. But between raising a son and building a career, was there something missing? Not according to Jennifer. Her satisfaction with her life, particularly her single status, seemed genuine, an affirmation of her self-sufficiency. Her foray into dating was casual, not geared towards finding a husband. She did date some other guys, nothing that seemed real serious. These ephemeral relationships underscored her prevailing mindset that romantic partnerships were not central to her life's ambition. Indeed, she had a clear philosophical stance on marriage itself. She never was of a mind that I want to get married and have a husband who is the breadwinner. She wanted to be able to take care of herself. This was a powerful articulation of her feminist ethos of independence, rejecting traditional gender roles and asserting her capacity for self-support. The desire to take care of herself was a deeply ingrained value, born of her personal history and her unwavering commitment to autonomy. This philosophy was not merely theoretical, it was powerfully demonstrated through her actions. And once she used her nurse's salary to buy a small farm outside of town, Jennifer proved she could manage just fine on her own. The purchase of a small farm outside of town was a tangible manifestation of her success and her independent spirit. It was not just a home. It was a testament to her ability to manage significant financial responsibilities just fine on her own. She maintained a meticulously organized household, a clear indicator of her capability. Jennifer was making sure that the bills were paid, the house was clean, that the laundry was done, that Brady was taken care of, that everything was taken care of. She was a tough girl. This litany of domestic responsibilities, all managed by Jennifer herself, reinforced her formidable organizational skills and her unwavering dedication to maintaining a stable, orderly environment for her son. The concluding descriptor She was a tough girl, captured the essence of her resilient, capable, and unyielding nature. However, even the toughest exterior can develop a vulnerable spot. And for Jennifer, this emotional softening came in 2007. But in 2007, the 30-year-old tough girl developed a soft spot for an easygoing electrician's apprentice named Jim Nib. The contrast between her established tough girl persona and the soft spot she developed highlighted a moment of emotional permeability, a yielding to an unexpected attraction. The introduction of Jim Nib, an easygoing electrician's apprentice, provided a charming antithesis to her intense drive. Their meeting was serendipitous, a testament to the unpredictable nature of fate. My younger brother Jason had a girlfriend at that time that went into diabetic shock, and Jim had discovered her. And so Jim called 911, and Jen came out on the ambulance call, and that's how they met. This dramatic, medically themed introduction was almost cinematic in its origin, with Jennifer responding professionally as an EMT to an emergency Jim had reported. It was an unconventional, adrenaline-fueled start to a romance. Their connection was immediate and grew rapidly. Good-looking man, and they started out partying together and going out dating. And I think right. From the beginning, she fell for him. Jim's physical attractiveness was undeniable. Their social activities, partying together and going out dating, indicated a period of light-hearted enjoyment and burgeoning affection. The strong assessment that, right from the beginning, she fell for him suggested an emotional surrender, a significant deviation from her previously detached approach to relationships. Jim's cheerful demeanor further solidified his appeal. He was always smiling. He had a big cheesy grin. I always called it, but he was always grinning. This description painted a picture of Jim as an outwardly jovial and pleasant individual, his constant big cheesy grin making him a source of easy warmth and good cheer. Their age difference was notable, with Jim being 6 years younger than Jennifer, placing him at 24 years old at the time of their meeting. This demographic detail, while not necessarily problematic, would later become relevant in discussions about their marital dynamic. Jim's passions lay in the outdoors. The 24-year-old was an avid outdoorsman. Jim loved to hunt, loved to fish, was an excellent marksman. These interests defined his character, painting him as a rugged, capable individual with a deep connection to nature. The fact that he loved to hunt, loved to fish, was an excellent marksman also, unknowingly, introduced an element of potentially deadly skill that would later take on a chilling significance. Their shared enjoyment of outdoor activities quickly became a foundation for their developing bond. And they would go camping and spend time together, and it just seemed like they had a lot in common. She would go hunting with him. Jennifer's willingness to go hunting with him further illustrated her commitment to their shared interests, showing a genuine desire to engage with his world, softening her tough exterior. For Jim, Jennifer was clearly a prize worth pursuing. And it didn't take too many hunting and fishing trips for Jim to decide that Jennifer was quite a catch. This light-hearted observation underscored Jennifer's many desirable qualities, making her a highly attractive prospect. She was successful, she was beautiful, she was hardworking. These specific attributes, her success, her beauty, her industriousness, resonated powerfully with those around them, affirming Jim's good fortune. We thought, wow, good for Jim. He has really done well for himself. This collective sentiment from his family reflected a genuine approval of Jennifer, seeing her as a valuable addition to Jim's life, someone who elevated his prospects and offered a secure future. Jennifer, for her part, appeared genuinely content in their burgeoning relationship, showing a new emotional openness. Jennifer appeared equally happy to be dating. She was very needy and very excited and happy. She had everything she wanted. This description of her as very needy and very excited and happy suggested an emotional receptiveness that was perhaps surprising given her previous independence. It hinted at a deep-seated desire for connection that Jim had seemingly awakened. Her feeling that she had everything she wanted suggested a moment of profound contentment, a rare alignment of her life's ambitions and emotional needs. However, despite this newfound happiness, Jennifer maintained a clear boundary, one that directly addressed her core priority, her son Brady. But despite her happiness, Jennifer made one thing clear to Jim. It was a two-person package. If you wanted Jennifer, you had to accept Brady, or that was a deal breaker. This was a non-negotiable condition, a testament to her unwavering maternal love. The two-person package ultimatum was firm, ensuring that Brady's well-being and Jim's acceptance of him were paramount to their relationships. Progression. It underscored the fact that Jennifer's life was fundamentally defined by her son, and any partner would have to integrate seamlessly into that reality. Jim, demonstrating his commitment, readily accepted this condition. It was a deal that Jim was more than willing to make. His easy acceptance indicated a genuine affection not just for Jennifer, but also for her son, signaling his willingness to embrace the full scope of her life. Jim's affection for Brady was evident in his deeply thoughtful approach to their future. Not quite a year after he and Jennifer started dating, Jim pulled her 14-year-old son aside and told him he was going to propose to his mother if Brady gave him the okay. This mature and respectful gesture, seeking Brady's approval first, spoke volumes about Jim's character and his understanding of the pivotal role Brady played in Jennifer's life. The fact that he directly engaged her 14-year-old son underscored his commitment to forging a familial bond. Brady's response conveyed his pleasant surprise. That kind of took me by surprise. He wanted to know if I approved first. The unexpectedness of the question and the deep respect it implied clearly resonated with the teenager. Brady's approval, along with Jennifer's, solidified their path forward. Brady said yes, and so did Jennifer. With both son and mother offering their affirmative, joyful responses, the future was set. Jennifer's emotional reaction was one of pure elation. She was very happy. I mean, she was excited. She was, oh my gosh. She was the first person I've called her. I've got to call Mom. I've got to call Dad. I've got to call everybody, and she was happy. Her effusive happiness, characterized by excitement and a desire to immediately share the joyous news with everybody, demonstrated a profound personal triumph. It was a clear shift from her previous disinterest in marriage, now embracing this commitment with open arms. The couple married in May of 2008. This formal union, witnessed by friends and family, marked a new chapter in Jennifer's life, a culmination of her journey towards finding a partner she genuinely cherished. She continued to project an image of idealized marital bliss. She seemed so happy. She made it so like he was perfect. The repetition of "she made it so like he was perfect" highlighted Jennifer's powerful, almost intentional, projection of an ideal onto her new husband. This deeply held perception of perfection was, however, destined to be short-lived, as the realities of daily life quickly began to chip away at the meticulously constructed facade. The honeymoon period, marked by Jennifer's idealization, rapidly faded as the practical realities of their marital life came into sharp focus. But it wasn't long before Jennifer realized that there was at least one area where her new husband wasn't quite so perfect. The polite understatement of "not quite so perfect" veiled a growing disillusionment that centered primarily on Jim's financial contributions to their shared life. Jim's career, while respectable, was still in its nascent stages, making his earnings considerably modest. Jim was still doing an internship as an electrician, wiring new houses, wiring new hot barns, maintenance, repair, some green elevator work, motor control, just about anything we could get our hands on. This detailed description of his diverse work as an electrician's apprentice conveyed the hands-on, physically demanding nature of his trade, but also underscored its introductory phase. It was undeniably hard work, but it didn't pay very well. The significant disparity between his effort and his income created immediate financial strain. Jim was making $15,000 a year. This stark figure, $15,000 a year, juxtaposed against Jennifer's established nursing salary and the cost of maintaining a household, highlighted the severe imbalance in their financial contributions. This meant that Jennifer, already the primary provider for her teenage son, now bore the substantial financial weight of another adult. That meant that in addition to her teenage son, Jennifer suddenly had another young man to support. This reality directly challenged her cherished independence and her deeply ingrained desire to take care of herself, transforming her role into that of the primary, almost sole, financial provider for her newly expanded family. The burden fell squarely upon her shoulders. She was paying the bills. She was buying the groceries. These fundamental responsibilities, typically shared in a partnership, rested almost entirely on Jennifer. To merely make ends meet, she was forced to escalate her already demanding work schedule, pushing her body and mind to their limits. To make ends meet, Jennifer often had to pull extra shifts. She'd, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work at her first job, and then from there go to her other job until 11 o'clock at night. This brutal daily schedule, beginning at 4 o'clock in the morning and stretching until 11 o'clock at night, painted a picture of relentless physical and emotional exhaustion. Her life became a ceaseless cycle of work, driven by financial necessity, adding to the overwhelming strain. Jennifer also experienced a growing disquiet in her marital intimacy. Most nights, Jennifer went to bed exhausted, only to find Jim waiting for her. This poignant image conveyed the profound physical fatigue she carried into the bedroom, contrasted with Jim's persistent sexual expectations. Her intimate confession revealed a significant source of marital friction. She expressed to me that sexually he was getting irritating as far as wanting to grope her all the time. Wanted to just get on her all the time. This candid admission underscored a significant lack of reciprocity and respect in their sexual relationship, transforming intimacy into an obligation, a source of additional exhaustion and resentment rather than connection. Jim's perceived constant, grope her all the time and get on her all the time, suggested an insensitivity to her physical and emotional fatigue, further deepening the rift between them. The immense strain of Jennifer's overwork and emotional distress quickly manifested in observable physical changes. Soon, the strain of all those long hours and sleepless nights appeared to be taking a toll on Jennifer. The physical and mental burden was undeniably accumulating, eroding her resilience. She had lost a bunch of weight. It just seemed like she was getting a little skinnier and a little skinnier. It was looking unhealthy. She was losing so much weight. This visible, rapid weight loss, a bunch of weight, a little skinnier and a little skinnier, was a stark indicator of her declining health and spiraling stress. The observation that it was looking unhealthy signified a worrying deviation from her typically robust self, reflecting a physical manifestation of her profound unhappiness and exhaustion. Barely a year into their marriage, the cracks were not just forming, they were becoming starkly apparent to all who observed them. Barely a year after Jennifer and Jim said, "I do," it was clear to everyone that the marriage was in trouble. The speed of the deterioration underscored the fragility of their foundation. The romantic idealization had evaporated, replaced by undeniable tension and emotional distance. They started to grow apart. This reiterated observation indicated a deepening chasm between them, a quiet erosion of their initial connection. The emotional trajectory was undeniable. Everything was all right, and then things just kind of shift a little bit, one thing after another. This sequence of subtle but persistent changes signaled a gradual unraveling, a relentless accumulation of small dissatisfactions that culminated in a significant estrangement. The central question among observers was clear. Was Jennifer just tired, or did she want someone else? This question articulated the two primary possibilities: either a profound exhaustion from her overwhelming responsibilities, or a nascent desire for an alternative, more fulfilling partnership. Her own growing awareness suggested the latter. She started to realize, wow, there are different types of men out there that would appreciate me and love me. This awakening represented a critical shift in her marital calculus, indicating that her dissatisfaction with Jim was profound enough to trigger a psychological exploration of other romantic possibilities, seeking appreciation and love she felt was missing. Jennifer's cousin, Carrie Erickson, became a confidant during this period of growing marital dissatisfaction. According to Jennifer's cousin, Carrie Erickson, she was even contemplating separating from Jim permanently. The confidential nature of this disclosure highlighted the seriousness of Jennifer's deliberations. The fact that she was actively contemplating separating from Jim permanently indicated a concrete consideration of ending the marriage, rather than merely harboring vague dissatisfactions. Her expressions to Carrie revealed the deep root of her resentment. Jennifer expressed to me many times she felt like she was constantly giving, and just wasn't getting back. She was becoming more and more frustrated with that and really needed him to pick it up, to start contributing more, helping pay the bills. This lament of constantly giving, and just wasn't getting back articulated a profound emotional and financial imbalance in their marriage. Her mounting frustration stemmed from Jim's perceived lack of reciprocation, her desperate need for him to pick it up, to start contributing more, helping pay the bills. This financial and emotional burden, falling almost entirely on Jennifer, was pushing her to her breaking point. Carrie's advice reflected the urgency of the situation. I told her that she really needed to just put out there and tell him that you're ready for divorce if it does not change. This direct and unequivocal counsel, advocating for an ultimatum, underscored the severity of Jennifer's marital crisis and the perceived need for drastic action. However, before Jennifer could deliver this life-altering ultimatum, Jim unexpectedly intervened with a gesture designed to rekindle their earlier, happier bond. But before Jennifer could deliver her ultimatum, Jim surprised her. This element of surprise introduced an unpredictable twist, momentarily diverting the trajectory towards marital dissolution. In the summer of 2010, a period of escalating tension, he gave her a gift intended to evoke their shared passions. In the summer of 2010, he gave Jennifer a gift to remind her of the happier days they had spent fishing and hunting together. This act, undoubtedly well-intentioned, aimed to bridge the growing emotional chasm by referencing their early, more joyous connections. The gift itself was significant and ironically foreshadowed the violent events to come: a brand new shotgun. Jim bought one for her and surprised her with it. He had taught her how to load it, unload it, and how to use it. The brand new shotgun was a symbol of their shared outdoor pursuits, a tangible representation of their camaraderie. The instruction Jim provided, teaching her how to load it, unload it, and how to use it, equipped Jennifer with a lethal skill, an irony that would become heartbreakingly clear in the immediate future. In fact, on the very eve of the tragedy, this shared activity took place. In fact, on the evening of August 30th, less than 24 hours before Jennifer called 911 and reported that her husband had been shot, he took her out in the backyard for a little target practice. This detail was chillingly precise. The act of target practice the night before, less than 24 hours before the shooting, not only ensured Jennifer's familiarity with the weapon, but also placed a murder weapon readily at hand, transforming a bonding activity into a fateful precursor. Brady unknowingly witnessed this final, seemingly innocuous activity. I got home from a football game, and then, I noticed they were outside shooting this gun. This casual observation from Brady placed Jennifer and Jim together actively using the very weapon that would take Jim's life within hours, a final, poignant image of a couple on the precipice of tragedy. The narrative rhythm quickens as the events leading to the fateful morning are recounted, juxtaposing Jennifer's claims with the stark, brutal reality. Coming up, Jennifer reports an intruder. There was an individual standing over her husband with a gun. This foreshadowing immediately refocuses the story on Jennifer's initial problematic account, and then the promise of a deeper, more personal revelation. And her cousin, Carrie, reveals a shocking secret. She had sent pretty explicit photographs to this man. This final teaser hints at the profound infidelity that would serve as a powerful psychological backdrop, adding layers of potential motive and deception to the tragic events. The calm of the Minnesota morning was decisively broken. Lake Crystal, Minnesota, August 31st, 2010. It was just after 6 in the morning when the Blue Earth County Sheriff's deputies arrived at the home 33-year-old Jennifer Nevey shared with her husband Jim. The establishment of the precise date and time served to anchor the subsequent account in irrefutable reality, marking the official commencement of a murder investigation. The arrival of Blue Earth County Sheriff's deputies indicated the organized and authoritative response to the urgent 911 call. The victim was quickly identified and his status unequivocally confirmed. The 26-year-old apprentice electrician was dead, killed by a single gunshot wound to the head. Jim Nibb's death at the young age of 26 was brutally immediate. The phrase "killed by a single gunshot wound to the head" graphically communicated the devastating lethality of the injury, leaving no doubt about the cause of death. Further confirmation of the fatality was delivered by emergency medical personnel. They had brought 2 ambulance personnel in to put a heart monitor on them, and there was no signs of life at all. This professional medical assessment confirmed the finality of Jim's death, emphasizing that all life-saving efforts would be futile. The supposed killer had also, according to Jennifer, inflicted wounds upon her, creating a more complex picture of victimhood. The killer had also wounded Jennifer on the upper portion of her legs. There were 3 cuts visible on each of her legs and the thigh area. The specific detail of 3 cuts visible on each of her legs and the thigh area provided precise physical evidence that would later become a critical point of forensic analysis and contention. Jennifer's son, Brady, despite being in the house, was fortunately unharmed physically. Jennifer's teenage son, Brady, was unharmed. However, he told the sheriff's deputies he had slept through the entire attack. Brady's testimony, confirming he had slept through the entire attack, provided a crucial insight. He was not a direct witness to the primary act of violence, thereby limiting his immediate value as an information source. His vivid recollection, however, was awaking to a scene of profound chaos and distress. All of a sudden, my mom's crying and the hall light's on, and she's on the phone with a police officer, and, she's bleeding. This sensory narrative from Brady painted a poignant picture of being jolted awake by the overwhelming reality of his mother's crying, the sudden illumination of hall lights, and her distressed conversation with the police officer, combined with the visually arresting detail that she's bleeding. This was his traumatic introduction to the murder that had just transpired. While a search for clues commenced within the house, Jennifer and Brady were separated for initial questioning, a standard investigative procedure. While some deputies searched the house for clues, others escorted Jennifer and her son outside for questioning. So we were kind of separated after we walked out of the house. We both went to different cop cars. This separation was tactically necessary, allowing investigators to obtain independent accounts and prevent contamination of their statements. The fact that they both went to different cop cars underscored the professionalism of the deputies. In managing a chaotic crime scene, for Brady, his lack of direct observation meant he could offer little immediate insight into the shooting itself. Unfortunately for the investigators, Brady could give them little information about the shooting. Brady, who was sleeping in the house or was in the house at the time, did not even hear it. This reconfirmation that he did not even hear it solidified his inability to corroborate Jennifer's narrative, making her testimony even more critical and, in retrospect, more suspicious as the sole eyewitness account. Jennifer, conversely, claimed to have been an active, albeit indirect, observer of the fatal moment. But Jennifer had heard the shot. Her auditory experience was central to her narrative. She told the police that she had been in the bathroom, getting ready for work, when her husband was killed. This placed her in an adjacent room, ostensibly removed from the immediate conflict, yet positioned to be an observer. She then recounted the chilling scene that unfolded before her eyes. She heard a loud noise. She opened the bathroom door and looked out, and there was an individual standing over her husband alongside the bed with a gun. This was the core of her intruder story: the sudden loud noise, her exploratory glance, and the horrific discovery of an individual standing over her husband alongside the bed with a gun. This image created a dramatic and compelling narrative of an external assailant. The murder weapon was identified, and it held a disturbing familiarity. The gun, a 20-gauge shotgun, was hers, a recent gift from Jim. This revelation about the 20-gauge shotgun being hers, a recent gift from Jim, immediately added an element of profound irony and tragic convenience. It was not a weapon brought in by an intruder, but a firearm readily available and personally owned by Jennifer, placing it at the heart of her narrative. She indicated that the gun that was in the bedroom belonged to family. This explicit confirmation from Jennifer that the gun was a family possession served to explain its presence at the crime scene. Jennifer's story then elaborated on the intruder's chilling attempt to turn the weapon on her, portraying her as an additional target. According to Jennifer, the intruder hadn't just used her gun to kill Jim. He also turned it on her and pulled the trigger. This amplified her victimhood, depicting a desperate close encounter with death. She heard a click, didn't know if the safety was on or if the gun didn't have any ammunition in it. But the gun did not go off. The sound of a click and the failure the gun did not go off suggested either a safety mechanism, a lack of ammunition, or some other malfunction. This detail was crucial. It explained her survival. Yet it also raised immediate questions for investigators about the plausibility of the intruder's intent and competence. Jennifer continued her narrative, describing a struggle for her life. Jennifer said she tried to flee, but Jim's killer had grabbed her and dragged her into the living room. Kind of a struggle ensues. They end up on the ground. This account of a violent abduction and a struggle that led to them on the ground in the living room provided purported context for her subsequent physical injuries and the displaced furniture in that area. However, despite this terrifying ordeal, Jennifer claimed a remarkable lack of descriptive detail about her alleged attacker. It happened very quickly. It's dark in the house. It's dark outside. So she didn't have a lot of detail in the description of the assailant. This explanation, citing the speed of the events and the prevailing darkness, attempted to account for her inability to provide identifying features of the assailant. While plausible for a traumatized victim, it also served as a convenient lack of specific information that might otherwise aid in the investigation. According to Jennifer, it was during this struggle that she received the cuts on her legs, suggesting a sexual motive for the intruder. According to Jennifer, it was during the struggle in the living room that the killer had slashed her legs with a knife. The presence of these specific wounds during the purported struggle in the living room became central to her account of physical assault. He was pawing at her clothing. It's appearing from what Jennifer Nivey's telling us that the motive is sexual assault. This explicit detailing of the intruder pawing at her clothing pointed towards a sexual assault motive, aligning with a desperate effort to cast a crime in a heinous external light, providing a strong reason for an unknown perpetrator. Yet, even in the midst of this alleged sexual assault, The intruder's actions were unexpectedly cut short. However, in the middle of the assault, Jim's killer had suddenly stomped, spooked. Jennifer believed by the family dog. This abrupt cessation of the assault, caused by the supposedly disruptive actions of the family dog, provided a conveniently non-human intervention, a believable escape clause for the perpetrator in her narrative. The dog was going crazy outside. This detail of the agitated dog going crazy outside offered a plausible reason for the intruder to be spooked. In this moment of unexpected reprieve, Jennifer's alleged attacker delivered a chilling valediction. He tells her that she's lucky, and he gets up and runs out of the house. The intruder's parting words, that she's lucky, and his swift exit out of the house, concluded Jennifer's harrowing tale of survival against a violent, sexually motivated home invader. Jennifer, according to her own account, was indeed lucky to be alive. However, even as she relayed this dramatic story in the aftermath, a profound sense of self-blame clouded her emotional state in the patrol car. But in the back of the patrol car, she blamed herself for Jim's death. She was upset. She was crying, maybe a little bit hysterical. This display of profound remorse, combined with her crying and hysterical emotional state, lent credence to her narrative, positioning her as a genuinely traumatized survivor consumed by guilt. According to Jennifer, her culpability stemmed from a lapse in household security earlier that morning. According to Jennifer, she had left the kitchen door unlocked when she let the dog out that morning. The only real way that this person could have gotten into the home was because the dog had been let out, because it wasn't forced entry into the home or anything like that. This explanation for the intruder's entry was meticulously constructed. The unlocked kitchen door offered a convenient point of access that circumvented the need for forced entry. By blaming herself for an oversight linked to the family dog, she inadvertently provided a tidy explanation for the supposed lack of forced entry elsewhere. Furthermore, Jennifer claimed she had accidentally provided the killer with the murder weapon, adding another layer of personal culpability to her narrative. Not only had she inadvertently let the intruder in, Jennifer said she had accidentally provided him with the murder weapon. This narrative element further cemented her apparent victimhood, casting her as an unwitting accomplice to her husband's demise. Jennifer told the investigators that she and Jim had been out yesterday evening, target shooting at the back of the property. It was with the gun that had been used to kill her husband. The target shooting activity, explicitly involving the gun that had been used to kill her husband, provided a seemingly innocent explanation for its ready availability. And when they'd finished target shooting, according to Jennifer, she neglected to put the gun away. Instead, she left it leaning up against the wall beside the kitchen door. Her neglected storage of the weapon, leaving it leaning up against the wall beside the kitchen door, connected directly to the unlocked kitchen door narrative. This confluence of alleged oversights created a seamless, albeit highly suspect, chain of events that culminated in Jim's murder. Once her initial statement was concluded, Jennifer was transported for medical evaluation. Once she had finished her statement, the investigators placed Jennifer in an ambulance. Jennifer was taken to the hospital so that she could be examined to ensure that there was proper documentation of her injuries, get her any treatment that she needed. This transport for medical examination was crucial, designed to both provide necessary care and meticulously document her physical condition, particularly the wounds she claimed to have sustained. This documentation would prove vital in verifying her narrative or exposing its inconsistencies. However, even as Jennifer was en route to the hospital, the experienced eyes and analytical minds of the investigators were already piercing through the flimsy veneer of her intruder story, detecting an unsettling pattern of implausibility. But even as Jennifer was on her way to the hospital, the investigators were beginning to doubt her story of a mysterious intruder. It smells funny. It just doesn't look right. These visceral reactions. It smells funny. It just doesn't look right. came from seasoned professionals, their intuition honed by years of encountering deceptive narratives. Such gut feelings, while not evidence in themselves, often serve as crucial early warning signals. The sheer illogicality of Jennifer's account of the break-in fueled their skepticism. It seems like it'd be a really bad plan to break into somebody's house, assuming that there be a gun available and you'd be able to kill the husband so you can effect a sexual assault on the wife. The attack just didn't seem to really make a lot of sense. The analytical breakdown of her story revealed its inherent absurdity. The implausibility of an intruder randomly stumbling upon a readily available murder. Weapon, Jennifer's own shotgun, and then proceeding with a plan that hinged on such a lucky find. Seemed ridiculously convoluted and poorly executed. The attack just didn't seem to really make a lot of sense, striking a discordant note with established criminal patterns and rational behavior. The fundamental inconsistencies in Jennifer's story were further compounded by the striking absence of any corroborating physical evidence, painting an increasingly suspicious picture. And the fact that Jennifer's story didn't make much sense wasn't the only reason the investigators doubted it. The alleged intruder had apparently come and gone without a trace. This critical lack of a trace stood in stark opposition to the dramatic narrative Jennifer had spun. An intruder, especially one involved in such a violent act, would almost certainly leave behind some tangible evidence of their presence or passage. It was muddy outside. It had been wet. There were a lack of tracks in the yard. There were lack of any type of tracks on the gravel road. This specific environmental detail, it was muddy outside, it had been wet, should have provided ideal conditions for preserving footprints. The glaring lack of tracks in the yard and a complete absence of any type of tracks on the gravel road was a damning indictment of Jennifer's claim, indicating that no one had entered or exited the property in the manner she described. The same absence of evidence extended into the interior of the house, and the same was true inside the house. No mud on the carpet, no tracks of any kind. This pristine indoor environment further contradicted her narrative of an intruder who supposedly struggled violently, yet left no mud on the carpet, no tracks of any kind. The scene was, forensically speaking, too clean for the events Jennifer had described. Even stranger, Jennifer's tale of a violent wrestling match in the living room found scant support in the physical arrangement of the furniture. Even stranger, despite Jennifer's tale of wrestling with her attacker in the living room, there were few signs of a struggle. This observation was profoundly damaging to her account. A genuine wrestling struggle would inevitably lead to a visible disruption of furniture and household items, yet such widespread chaos was notably absent. There was a chair that was propped up on another piece of furniture, a magazine rack or a book stand or something at kind of odd angle that just seemed a little bit out of place. The isolated nature of the disturbance, a chair that was propped up, a magazine rack or a book stand at kind of odd angle, seemed almost too deliberate, too neat for a spontaneous, violent struggle. The phrase just seemed a little bit out of place, implied a subtle, unnatural quality, and it just didn't fit. It just seemed like this seemed staged as the vibe we got. This was the investigators' unequivocal, gut-level conclusion. The scene was staged. The phrase, "this seemed staged," as the vibe we got, perfectly encapsulated the collective intuition of experienced professionals encountering a fabricated crime scene. This suspicion transformed everything from a simple break-in into a carefully constructed facade designed to deceive. Indeed, the staging extended beyond the general disarray of the living room, raising profound suspicions about Jennifer's own physical injuries. In fact, the crime scene wasn't all that the investigators believed had been staged. They were also suspicious of the cuts on Jennifer's legs. These wounds, initially presented as evidence of the intruder's brutality, were now viewed through a highly skeptical lens. The precise symmetry and location of the wounds raised a significant red flag. Those wounds in the same fashion, on both legs, winding up with one another almost in a mirror fashion on each leg. It just seemed odd. The geometric precision of in the same fashion on both legs, occurring almost in a mirror fashion on each leg, defied the random, haphazard nature of defensive wounds sustained in a chaotic struggle. Such precise replication immediately suggested a deliberate, self-inflicted origin. Medical opinion corroborated this grim assessment. The location of the wounds and the way the wounds look, he said they appear to have been self-inflicted. This professional medical opinion provided a definitive, objective confirmation of the investigator's suspicions. The wounds appear to have been self-inflicted, transforming Jennifer from a traumatized victim into an active participant in the staging of the crime, further dismantling her narrative piece by agonizing piece. The accumulation of these damning forensic details and logical inconsistencies left investigators with an inescapable conclusion about the nature of the crime. Self-inflicted wounds, a staged scene, and an intruder who left no trace. To the investigators, it all added up to one thing. This concise summary outlined the three undeniable pillars of the prosecution's developing case, each a severe blow to Jennifer's claims. The synthesis of these elements, each implausible on its own, pointed directly to an insidious, internal deception. The one thing they all added up to was articulated with a chilling sense of inevitability. It appeared to be an inside job, so to speak. This colloquial phrase perfectly captured their conviction that the crime originated from within the household, from someone who knew its layout, its secrets, and its vulnerabilities, shattering any lingering doubts about an external perpetrator. With the intruder scenario definitively debunked, the investigation's focus narrowed with cold, clinical precision, leading to a profound and painful truth. And if Jim's killer had been someone in the house, that left the investigators with two potential suspects, Jennifer and her 16-year-old son. The pool of suspects, once wide, was now reduced to the two individuals who were in the home at the time of the murder. However, one of those potential suspects was quickly eliminated from serious consideration. There isn't really those red flags or those concerns are popping up with the son. Brady's lack of criminal history, his behavior at the scene, and his clear, consistent statement all conspired to absolve him. He presented no credible motive, no psychological markers of violent intent, and no inconsistencies that implicated him. Thus, the path of logic led to only one conclusion. Everything was pointed that she was the one that pulled the trigger. This unequivocal statement reflected the cumulative weight of the evidence, the methodical dismantling of her fabricated narrative, and the logical progression of elimination that had firmly fixed suspicion on Jennifer. Hoping to gain any missing pieces of information or to find any subtle indicators of marital strife that might provide a motive, the investigators cautiously turned to Jim's grieving family. Hoping to find some answers, the investigators turned to Jim's family. This outreach was a delicate balance between extracting crucial information and showing profound respect for the family's immense sorrow. The devastating news was delivered with direct, unflinching honesty. The captain of the sheriff's department, he said, "Are you Leslie?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm sorry. There's been a shooting and your brother's been killed." This stark recounting of the moment Leslie received the news was profoundly painful, underscoring the raw impact of a police officer delivering a message of death. Despite their shock, when pressed for details, Jim's family was transparent about the marital issues they had observed. But when the investigators asked if Jennifer had any reason to want Jim dead, the family admitted that their marriage hadn't been perfect, that they'd grown apart. This acknowledgement confirmed the underlying marital disharmony that had already emerged from Jennifer's closest circle. The admission that their marriage hadn't been perfect and they'd grown apart provided an accurate, if understated, picture of the existing strain. However, crucially for Jim's family, these marital frictions seemed insufficient to warrant murder. But as far as they knew, the frictions fell far short of a motive for murder. This was a critical disconnect. While acknowledging issues, the family could not conceive of them escalating to such an extreme act, viewing the problems as resolvable marital disputes, not a precursor to fatal violence. Jim's sister offered a personal observation on the evolving nature of the relationship. Over the course of time, I watched the nature of their relationship change like any marriage does. This generalized observation indicated a recognition of shifts, but not necessarily a trajectory towards violent conflict. However, one specific change in Jennifer's behavior was noted. She began to spend more time with friends and was gone a lot more. This indicated a growing distance, a psychological and physical withdrawal from the marital unit, spending less time at home and more time in external social activities, reinforcing the narrative of a decaying marital bond. As the investigators continued their diligent pursuit of truth, an unexpected trove of incriminating information began to surface, not from Jim's family, but from Jennifer's own trusted confidants. Curiously, it was only when they started talking to Jennifer's family that the trouble in the marriage started to look more sinister. This was a significant pivot, demonstrating that sometimes the most damaging secrets are hidden closest to home. Even within families driven by a deep protective instinct, Jennifer's father, burdened by his daughter's dire financial straits, provided crucial insight into the couple's overwhelming economic despair. Jennifer's father told the investigators that his daughter and son-in-law were in desperate financial shape. This was not merely marital friction. This was a severe, systemic problem. The financial details were shocking. She was carrying $20,000 with a credit card debt. She had a second mortgage on the house with a bank of $20,000. They were behind on the house payments. There were all sorts of financial issues. This litany of debt, $20,000 with a credit card debt, a second mortgage on the house with a bank of $20,000, combined with behind on the house payments and all sorts of financial issues, painted a vivid picture of a couple drowning in an ocean of overwhelming financial distress. Such economic pressure is a well-known precursor to intense marital conflict and desperate actions. Compounding the financial desperation was another deeply personal and highly illicit secret revealed by her cousin. And her cousin even revealed that Jennifer had recently started flirting with an old flame. This was a powerful piece of information, revealing Jennifer's active engagement in infidelity, moving beyond mere contemplation of divorce to tangible actions that betrayed her marriage vows. Around June, she started texting a man, and it was not a physical relationship. It was just a per se sexing relationship. The precise timeline around June indicated that this clandestine digital affair had been ongoing for some months, long enough to develop a significant emotional and sexual intimacy. The initial classification as not a physical relationship, but just a per se sexing relationship distinguished it from a direct physical affair, but did not diminish its inherent breach of marital fidelity or its potential to escalate. However, there were clear signs of an intensifying desire to push the boundaries of this digital connection. Although, according to Carrie, there were signs that Jennifer wanted the relationship to escalate, she did tell me that she had sent pretty explicit photographs to this man. This was a damning revelation. Jennifer's proactive act of sending pretty explicit photographs clearly demonstrated a strong desire for the relationship to escalate, revealing a deep level of emotional and sexual engagement that directly threatened her marriage. The subsequent elaboration provided greater detail about the illicit content, photographs of a sexual nature that appeared to have been taken by herself, and also videos that appeared to have been taken by herself of a sexual nature. The self-produced nature of these photographs of sexual nature and videos of a sexual nature underscored her direct agency in pursuing this clandestine affair, engaging in a dangerous game of digital intimacy that could and would have severe consequences. As far as Carrie knew, Jennifer had, for the moment, resisted the temptation to transform the digital affair into a physical one. As far as Carrie knew, Jennifer hadn't followed through on her desires. Yet, it hadn't developed or went to that point of becoming a physical relationship, the qualifier, yet left open the clear possibility of future escalation. But for the present, it remained primarily an electronic liaison. Indeed, Carrie had actively counseled Jennifer against deepening the relationship. In fact, Carrie told the police that she had urged Jennifer to wait. That was a discussion that we had, whether to meet him or not, and I told her not to do that. Carrie's explicit advice, urging her not to do that, highlighted her concern and awareness of the precariousness of Jennifer's position. These revelations presented investigators with two profoundly compelling potential motives, intertwining the personal and the financial. Was Jennifer's sexting affair a motive for murder, or was the pretty blonde hiding something even more damaging? This posed a powerful psychological dilemma. Was the desire for an alternative relationship, or the fear of its exposure, enough to incite murder? Or did these overt behaviors merely scratch the surface of a deeper, darker secret that Jennifer desperately sought to conceal? The dramatic narrative foreshadowed the eventual confrontation. Coming up, the authorities take Jennifer into custody. She seemed a little surprised to see us, and Jennifer offers up a surprise of her own. The impending arrest and Jennifer's seemingly naive surprise, juxtaposed with a truly bizarre, almost illusional statement she would utter. He's like, "Someone's funny. It's the devil," hinting at a mind perhaps unraveling under immense pressure, promised to lead the investigation into an unexpected and profoundly unsettling direction, questioning her very grip on reality. The edifice of Jennifer Nibb's fabricated intruder story was already crumbling within hours of her desperate 911 call. Within hours of the frantic 911 call Jennifer Nibbie made on August 31st, 2010, Blue Earth County, Minnesota authorities had already started to doubt her story, that an intruder had broken in and shot her husband. The speed of the investigators' skepticism underscored the immediate and glaring inconsistencies in her account. The fundamental issue remained the absolute lack of any corroborating physical evidence for an external perpetrator. There was no physical evidence to show that there was an intruder in the residence other than what she had to say. This was a damning indictment. Without any physical evidence, Jennifer's testimony stood as an isolated, unsupported claim, a narrative divorced from the tangible reality of the crime scene. In the days following the murder, the web of suspicion tightened inexorably around Jennifer, strengthened by the devastating disclosures from her own family. In the days following the murder, the investigators' suspicion of Jennifer had only deepened, especially after her cousin informed them that Jennifer was having a steamy sexting affair with another man. The revelation of her steamy sexting affair provided a powerful, personal motive that painted her marital dissatisfaction in a much darker, more active light, adding significant weight to the existing doubts. The explicit nature of these digital communications was shocking. I did read a couple of texts from this man, and they were pretty explicit as far as what he wanted done to him and what he would do to her. This direct account of the pretty explicit content, describing mutual sexual desires and intentions, underscored the depth of the affair. And when law enforcement obtained her phone records, they discovered Jennifer's full, active participation. And when the investigators pulled her phone records, they discovered that Jennifer's responses had been just as explicit. There were pictures of her that had been sent to him, naked pictures. The forensic confirmation from phone records provided irrefutable proof of her active, willing engagement, including the exchange of naked pictures, definitively tying her to the explicit online liaison. Further psychological insight into Jennifer's state of mind was revealed through her personal writings, which clearly articulated her profound marital unhappiness. And in Jennifer's journals, she made it clear that her marriage was in trouble. There were some entries that indicated that she was not happy with her relationship with her husband, Jim. And that was really hard for her to live, as she was living because of the way she felt about this other individual. Her journals offered an intimate window into her inner world, chronicling her unhappiness with Jim and revealing the deep emotional impact of her feelings for this other individual, creating a compelling narrative of marital dissatisfaction and potential romantic replacement. Compounding these personal pressures, Jennifer's father's earlier disclosure of severe financial distress was meticulously corroborated by evidence found at the crime scene. Jennifer's father also told investigators that she and Jim had been in deep financial trouble, an assertion that fit with evidence recovered from Jim and Jennifer's house. When we processed the scene, we found credit card records and letters from creditors and collection agencies. This discovery of credit card records and letters from creditors and collection agencies among the household items provided stark, tangible proof of the dire financial trouble, directly linking Jennifer's father's claims to the physical evidence collected. This economic pressure offered a powerful secondary motive, complementing the marital dissatisfaction. As investigators sifted through the recovered financial documents, a disturbing new pattern began to emerge, hinting at a hidden addiction that further clouded Jennifer's life. And when the investigators started sifting through the financial records and receipts they removed from the crime scene, they found something else. We found a number of receipts where she had obtained tramadol through the mail. The discovery of a number of receipts where she had obtained tramadol through the mail was a significant, unsettling revelation. Tramadol, a prescription painkiller typically used to manage chronic pain, possessed an addictive quality. It has an opiate-like effect. This physiological detail was crucial, suggesting a potent, habit-forming substance that could quickly lead to dependency. The question was immediate and deeply troubling. Had the registered nurse become addicted to prescription painkillers? This profound concern questioned her professional integrity and her personal well-being, suggesting a secret life fraught with pharmaceutical dependency. The source of her addiction raised even more serious legal implications. She had possibly been forging some prescriptions, stealing prescription pads from the surgery center. This was a shocking criminal accusation. The unauthorized procurement of prescription pads from the surgery center where she worked, indicating a calculated and illegal pattern of behavior designed to feed her escalating addiction. Jennifer's sister-in-law's observations, initially anecdotal, now took on a more ominous significance, providing a crucial external validation of Jennifer's altered state. According to her sister-in-law, it would also explain Jennifer's odd behavior. My husband said to me earlier that summer, "I think there's something wrong with her." He said she either has cancer or she's taking drugs. The sister-in-law's testimony offered powerful evidence of Jennifer's erratic, concerning demeanor leading up to the murder. The stark choice articulated by her husband, she either has cancer or she's taking drugs, underscored the visible deterioration of Jennifer's health and personality. She seemed irritable, and to me she always seemed tired. She was always off doing her own thing. These descriptions, irritable, tired, and always off doing her own thing, were consistent with the behavioral symptoms often associated with drug addiction, where an individual's focus becomes increasingly centered on acquiring and consuming their substance of choice, leading to withdrawal and social detachment. Jennifer's mounting drug use directly intersected with her already desperate financial situation, creating a perilous feedback loop. Jennifer wasn't just busy getting her pills. She was also scrambling to pay for them. The cost of sustaining such a severe addiction, especially when acquired illicitly, was considerable, adding another layer of severe financial stress. Her tramadol use did appear to take a substantial portion of money just by looking through the check register and the amount of checks that she had written. This forensic accounting, analyzing the check register and the amount of checks that she had written, revealed a profound financial drain directly attributable to her tramadol dependency. further deepening her debt. As investigators delved deeper into her financials, another chilling discovery emerged, a potential motive that overshadowed all previous ones. And when the investigators started digging deeper into Jennifer's financials, they discovered that Jim's death would potentially lead to a big payoff. This big payoff transformed Jim's death from a mere tragedy into a potential act of calculated self-interest. There was a $250,000 life insurance policy on Jim. The existence of a $250,000 life insurance policy on Jim, with Jennifer as the beneficiary, was a profoundly significant revelation, casting the entire event in a new, more sinister light. The magnitude of this life insurance policy, particularly in light of Jennifer's role as the primary financial contributor, immediately raised a red flag. Considering the fact that Jennifer was the couple's primary breadwinner, the amount of insurance on Jim seemed strange to the investigators. It was disproportionately large, given Jim's modest income and the couple's dire financial straits. An anomaly that fueled suspicion. More damning still was the timing of the policy's acquisition, and the fact that the policy had been taken out just 3 months before Jim's murder struck the investigators as downright suspicious. The phrase, "just 3 months before Jim's murder," established a critical temporal proximity, transforming an otherwise routine insurance policy into a profoundly incriminating piece of evidence. The very shortness of this proximity at the time of the murder was inherently suggestive of a premeditated, financially motivated act, adding another layer of grim calculation to Jennifer's perceived actions. With a compelling mosaic of evidence now assembled, a fabricated intruder story, an illicit affair, profound financial distress, and a hidden drug addiction tied to a substantial life insurance policy, the authorities moved to apprehend Jennifer. On September 10th, a week and a half after her husband's murder, Blue Earth County Sheriff's deputies arrested Jennifer outside the surgery center where she worked. The timing, a week and a half after her husband's murder, allowed for methodical accumulation of incriminating evidence. The location of the arrest, outside the surgery center where she worked, served as a dramatic culmination, bringing justice directly to the heart of her professional life. Jennifer's reaction suggested a naive disbelief. She seemed to be maybe a little bit shocked that we were there, a little surprised to see us. Her apparent shock and surprise at the officer's presence could